Allemagne-en-Provence is a French commune in the Alpes-de-Haute-Provence department in the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur region in southeastern France. Unlike the other French town called Allemagne, which changed its name to Fleury-sur-Orne in 1916 during World War I, Allemagne-en-Provence has kept its name. The inhabitants are called Armagnois or Allemagniens. Geography. Allemagne-en-Provence is located about 50 kilometers northeast of Aix-en-Provence and 25 kilometers west of Castellane. Access to the commune is by road D952 east from Saint-Martin-de-Bromes to the town, then continuing northeast to Ries. There is also road D111 starting from the town and going east to Montagnac-Montpezat. Road D15 also follows a convoluted route south from Valenzole to the town. There is a network of small country roads covering the commune. About 30% of the land is farmland with the rest mountain slopes and forests. Hydrography. The commune is located at the confluence of the Montagnac torrent and the Coloste River, 36.3 kilometers long, which flows southwest into the Verdon River. There is a large network of streams feeding into the Coloste throughout the commune. In the 19th century, the village was frequently inundated by floods caused by storms, with floods sweeping down the mountain and swamping the village streets. Natural and technological hazards. All of the 200 communes of the department are in a seismic risk area. The canton of Ries, to which the commune belongs, is Zone 1B according to the deterministic classification of 1991 based on historical earthquakes, and Zone 3 according to the classification probability EC8 of 2011. The commune also faces exposure to 3 other natural hazards: forest fire, flooding, landslide. The commune is almost entirely covered by a medium to high risk. The commune is at risk of technological origin due to the transport of dangerous goods by road. The county road D952 can be used for the road transport of dangerous goods. The prevention plan for foreseeable natural risks for the commune was approved in 1998 for the risks of flood and earthquake. The town was subjected to a natural disaster in 1987 when there was a mudslide. Localities and hamlets. In addition to the village, the town has 2 hamlets, Saint-Antoine, Puy-Beauclair. Neighboring communes. Toponymy. The area appears for the first time in texts from 429 in the chronology of Lerins. The etymology of the place has attracted many assumptions, especially to keep away from the Allemagniens, now rejected by scholars for half a century. The old form Allemagniens, noted in 1182, leaves little doubt and indicates a formation on an ethnic name by the Allemagniens and perpetuates the memory of a colony or a military post of these people present before the great invasions. Among the former conjectures dating from the Franco-German rivalry in the late 19th and the beginning of the 20th century was the denial of a connection between the name of the village and Germany. There is a possibility of a Gallic goddess of fertility, Alemona, venerated by the Roman garrison installed on the site of the present castle, or Armenia, which comes from area magna, meaning great plain of gravel. The commune is called Allemagne-en-Provence in Provençal according to the classical standard and Allemagne-de-Provence according to standard Australian. The locality Lermout, close to the D952 and east of the village, refers to a motte and bailey castle which has now disappeared. Notre Dame to the west of the village on the D15 is also from a small hill which had a chapel. History. Allemagne and its lords. Around the year 1000 there were 2 castles in the commune, at Castellet and Lermout. The 2 other castles came later. The motte and bailey castle of Mout was fortified for the first time in the second half of the 9th century, built on a platform of 450 to 500 square Two residential buildings were constructed, one using the ancient technique of murus gallicus. This building of 30 square m is surrounded by a gallery on two sides, the other building is about 50 square m. The two were deliberately burned shortly before the year 1000, to backfill the mound again to raise it by about 2 meters. The second construction consisted of a single building of 54 square m, which caught fire in 1010 during an attack. It is possible that the construction of Castellet Castle corresponds to the destruction of the first castle. The lordship of Allemagne belonged to the Castellane family from the 13th to the 15th centuries. Then it was the Oraison. The Castellanes. The lordship of Allemagne became the property of the Castellanes in 1218 on the occasion of the marriage of Agnes Sada with Boniface IV de Castellane. The same year Agnes Sparta granted franchises to the villages. The lordship of Allemagne was a barony around 1280. On the 15th of January 1331, Boniface de Castellane, son of Boniface, lord of Allemagne and Constance, married the daughter of Albert Blancassi, lord of Beaudenard. A small castle was built on a hill south of the village of Castrolatum de Allemagnia. In the 14th century it fell into the hands of bandits, the commissariat, who made it the base of operations for robbing the neighborhood. To put an end to it, the inhabitants of Ries united and drove the commissariat to the gatehouse, which they quickly demolished thereafter. An agreement to desist was signed on the 17th of June 1417 by Boniface de Castellane, lord of Allemagne, which said that the lord would abandon his pursuits against the community of Ries for the demolition of Castellet. In the 15th century, the former community of Castellet, separated from Allemagne before the crises of the 14th centuries, was joined to that of Allemagne, because it had become too depopulated. It was in 1440 that, through a testament of Boniface IX de Castellane, the barony of Allemagne was separated from land belonging to Castellane and assigned to the eldest son of the testator, Antoine. The latter's son, Boniface X, succeeded him in 1472 and married Marguerite of Fabin. His son, François de Castellane-Allemagne, Baron of Allemagne, enlarged the castle at Allemagne and died on the 28th of January 1523. The son Melchior de Castellane-Allemagne, Baron of Allemagne, never married and bequeathed his property to Nicholas Mars, his nephew, on condition that he bear his name and arms. A leader of the Protestant party, he was killed in 1560 during the Wars of Religion during a fight on his land. He enlarged and embellished the castle of Allemagne. In August 1586, Liga captain Hubert de Van besieged the castle in Allemagne, where the Baroness was alone with her garrison commanded by the Lord of Espinos. She resisted for 16 days and gave her husband Nicholas Mars Castellane time to come up with the Protestant army. He arrived in early September with the support of Les Diguières, surrounded by men from the lords of Oraison, Geraint Senas, Vintimillis Tourves, Fabin Janssen, and others, all enemies of de Van. On arriving around Allemagne, Les Diguières seized the heights and all the pathways in the area but just missed the encirclement of the Ligueurs' troops. De Van then abandoned the defences that he had held out for 16 days, and prepared for battle on the hill of San Marco. The battle began on the 5th of September 1586. The Baron of Allemagne committed to action at the head of his volunteers. The Leaguers managed to open a passage to Ries, where they were home, pursued by the Huguenots. One of the last arquebus shots struck the Baron of Allemagne in the head and killed him on the bridge of his castle. His widow, Jeanne de Grasse, presided at his funeral and executed 11 Catholic prisoners over his grave. It was nevertheless an important Protestant victory. century, the Leaguers lost 900 to 1,200 men and 18 flags of the 22 they had. The majority of prisoners had their throats cut at the news of the death of Baron of Allemagne. 12 others were executed the next day on his grave. The orisons, Alexandre du Mas de Castellane-Allemagne, Baron of Allemagne, son of Nicholas, married Martha de Raison in 1610. In 1612 Alexandre du Mas had a quarrel with Annibal de Fabin, Lord of Laroque, and a duel ensued. The two duelists were put back to back, with their arms tied and fired to be both fatally struck. The property was seized by the Queen Regent, who gave that of Alexandre to his brother Jean-Louis, who then gave them to his niece Gabrielle Dumas, which ruined the confiscation. After a childless marriage to Antoine de Villeneuve, Marquis des Arcs, she testated it in favor of his cousin André de Raison. Martha de Raison was the founder of a convent of Capuchins at Marseille. She took the habit without taking the vows on the death of her husband. She then devoted herself to the poor at the Hôtel Dieu de Paris, where she died in 1637 and was buried in the cloister of the Capuchins Saint-Honoré. André de Raison, Marquis de Raison, Baron of Allemagne, on the death of Gabrielle Dumas de Castellane-Allemagne, married Gabrielle Gianni La Roche. They had 3 children, one of which, Madeleine, married Jacques Louis Saint-Chazun in 1699. The Varages. On the 24th of November 1718, Madeleine sold the barony of Allemagne for 216,000 livres to Jean-Baptiste Varages, the king's secretary at the Court of Auditors, Marseille, since the 16th of February 1712. During the Revolution, Joseph Francis Varages, Baron of Allemagne, officer in the Angoumois regiment, adjutant to the General of Villeneuve, was wounded in Toulon defending the city on the royalist side in 1793. He then emigrated and his property was declared national property. He did not return to France, ruined, until the Restoration, with his son Alexandre de Varages, Baron of Allemagne, who died at Aix-en-Provence, of branch of Varages-Allemagne. He made a will in favor of Paul Delamain, grandson of Major General Claude Delamain, already Baron of the Empire, who, therefore, took up arms of Varages-Allemagne. French Revolution. The Patriotic Society of the Commune was created during the summer of 1792. In 1793, the castle was designated to be destroyed but escaped demolition. 19th century. In the second half of the 18th century, the faience industry was thriving in Allemagne, and this continued into the 1820s. The style imitated that of Moustiers Sainte-Marie. 20th century. In 1930, a cooperative built a distillery for manufacturing perfume. Until the middle of the 20th century, vines were cultivated in Allemagne and covered several dozen hectares. The wine was produced for home consumption and was sold in regional markets. This culture is now abandoned. Heraldry administration. Intercommunalité Allemagne-en-Provence is a member of, from 2009 to 2013, Communauté de Communes Luberon-Durance-Verdon. For the 1st of January 2013, Communauté d'Agglomération Durance-Luberon-Verdon. List of mayors. List of successive mayors of Allemagne-en-Provence. Population. In 2010 the commune had 514 inhabitants. The evolution of the number of inhabitants is known through the population censuses conducted in the town since 1793. For the 21st century, a census of municipalities with fewer than 10,000 inhabitants is held every 5 years. Unlike larger towns that have a sample survey every year, Population change sources. LDHEHESS Cassini until 1962. INSEE database from 1968. Budget and taxation. The regional share of the housing tax is not applicable. The business tax was replaced in 2010 by the business land premium on the rental value of the property and the contribution to the added value of enterprises, environment and recycling, the collection and treatment of household waste and similar waste, and the protection and enhancement of the environment are within the mandate of the Communauté d'agglomération Durance Luberon Verdon. Education. The town has a kindergarten. Economy. In 2009, the population was 220 people, including 29 unemployed. The workers are mostly employed and mostly work outside the commune. Services and administration provide the majority of jobs, followed by industry and construction with 40% of the commune workers in late 2010. Agriculture employed 2 people. At the 1st of January 2011, the establishments active in the commune were mainly shops and services, companies in the industrial sector, and primary sector. Agriculture. The number of agricultural establishments, according to a survey by the Department of Agriculture, remained stable in the 2000s at 16. Most of the produce coming from 7 to 10 farms, and the number of sheep husbandry farms increasing to 4. Other farms practice mixed farming and hydroponics. At the same time, farms specializing in market gardening disappeared. From 1988 to 2000, the agricultural area used rose sharply, from 743 to 1,342 hectares. In the 2000s, the SAR declined to 1,176 hectares but remained at a much higher level than in 1988. Field crops occupy more than half the space, the rest being mainly devoted to livestock farming. The cultivation of the olive has been practiced in the commune for centuries to a limited extent. The soil of the commune is at the altitudinal limit for the olive tree, which can hardly be grown beyond 650 meters. The local olives therefore only occupy a few tens of hectares of agroforestry. After a period of decline, there are less than 1,000 trees. Industry. In late 2010, the secondary sector had 18 different establishments, employing a total of 18 people. Service activities. In 2009, there were 30 establishments in the tertiary sector, with 9 employees plus 4 administrative and public service institutions employing 16 people, according to the Department of Tourism Observatory. Tourism is an important function for the commune, with between 1 and 5 tourists visiting per resident per year despite a limited capacity for accommodation. Several accommodation facilities for tourism purposes exist in the commune. 1 hotel, 2-star with 10 rooms, some furnished rooms and guest rooms. There is no camping or collective accommodation, according to the Atlas of Accommodation. Second homes, by contrast, provide a large capacity of accommodation with 168 dwellings. The shop selling local products offers a variety of local products. It was founded by 30 farmers, craftsmen and artists of the lower valley of the Verdon. They display the products: olive oil, jams, honey, biscuits, pâté, wines, goat cheese, jewelry, knives, clothing, leather goods, stoneware, faience, glazed pastries, figurines, lavender oil, etc. Culture and heritage. Civil architecture. In the village, at the corner of a square, is a house from the late 16th, early 17th century with a pilastred door with imposts in the Tuscan style facing the street. 2 houses have stairs with a handrail made with gypsery, which is a type of plasterwork seen only in Provence. There are 3 motte and bailey castles in the commune: the Moutet motte, the Notre Dame motte, the St. Marc motte. The agricultural cooperative and perfumery is registered as an historical monument. The château is a registered historical monument. It consists of a medieval part in the east, a Renaissance part from the 16th century with many modifications. A park. The castle was a refuge for the Castellane family in the 13th century when Count Charles I de Provence confiscated the fiefs of Boniface V. Boniface X built the Renaissance dwelling and it was completed by his son in 1545. Jean de Grasse added the fireplace in the main room, decorated with gypsery plasterwork. At the end of the 16th century for Serge Panorotto and early next century for the Countess of Chaffo, it is decorated with statues round boss framing a pediment, the whole surmounted by a finely crafted frieze. The source of inspiration was from antiquity. The medieval part lasted to the end of the 15th century. The top was heavily restored in the late 19th century. It is decorated with many gypseries, including a monumental fireplace flanked by two mythological characters in the great room. In a niche above the balcony of the castle tower is a small statue of a pregnant goddess. The castle was used as a summer camp by the Confectioners' Union of Apt in the middle of the 20th century. The built-up parts are classified as historical monuments. The park consists of a half-hectare around the castle adorned with plantations of plane trees, lime trees, chestnut trees, and cypress trees. Has been a World Heritage Site since 1942. The Château of Allemagne-en-Provence. Religious architecture. The Church of St. Mark already existed in the 13th century, but the current building is not earlier than 1550, according to the Historical Atlas of Provence. The north nave is Romanesque, rebuilt in the 17th century, has been linked by large arches to the south nave more recently. The facade is from the 19th century. The survey is flat. Its bell tower, the Roman-style choir, from the 13th century. There are two paintings from the 17th century, a rosary with the 15 Mysteries of the Virgin, the Annunciation in the same style from the 17th century, perhaps coming from the workshop of a great master. The tabernacle at the back is, in part, from the 15th century. There are many items in the church which are registered as historical objects. For a complete list of these items, including links to descriptions, click here. The Chapel of St. Mark is built on the overhang of Vorgescal, which overlooks the village for more than 110 meters. There were at least 4 successive stages of construction, and every 25th of April there is a pilgrimage to St. Mark. Other chapels existed but disappeared. The Chapel of Notre-Dame de l'École and the Chapel of St. Pierre from the 18th–19th centuries. The Chapel of St. Eloi on the road to St. Martin de Bromes, and the Church of Castellet was reported in the Middle Ages. Local life. Public transport. Allemagne-en-Provence is served by a bus route that connects Ries to Manosque. A connection is made at Manosque with the SNCF railway station and the bus station. There is also an Le coach service operated by SUMIAN coaches from Ries to Marseille via Allemagne-en-Provence, GREQ Les Bains, Vernon, and Aix-en-Provence. Personalities. Nicolas Mas Castellane, called the Baron of Allemagne, Protestant captain. François Charles Bouche, MP for Aix to the Estates General of 1789. Prosper Allemagne, who was sentenced to the Bagnères of Toulon prison for taking part in the French coup of 1851. MP.